So we've got Michigan ends up winning 31-10. It is final. JJ McCarthy over 300 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Dre, what are your thoughts?
Um, Quarters 1 through 3 were pretty ugly. Well, first thoughts and prayers to Mike Hart. We wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
Um, Definitely a scary situation and emotional for both sides. I mean, people may forget that Mike Hart was, I believe, the running backs coach and assistant offensive coordinator or something like that for Indiana for a few years in a time, Maryland. So he is recognized and appreciated on both sides, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But look, quarters 1 through 3, pretty ugly overall, at least from a Michigan standpoint. I thought the fourth quarter was way better. Fourth quarter, they showed their dominance. They showed they were clearly the best team. I mean, there's a point in time in late in the fourth quarter where it showed that Indiana only had 21 total yards in the second half. So they were a totally different team in the second half. So that was good to see. But I think one thing that's clear is that, as you called it, you said this was a trap game, and I think out of 48 minutes, 35 of those minutes, Michigan definitely was playing like it was a trap game and not coming out focused and playing sloppy. But at the end of the day, they won by a pretty good margin. They showed their dominance down the end of the stretch, and overall, they stay healthy. So, and they move forward. Looks like ready to go for Penn State.
Absolutely. And before I go, thank you, Kellen Sandifer, for contributing to the show. But defense could not get lined up in the first half. Offensive line is still good, even with Jones out. And yeah, I thought the O line played well the entire game. Like there was not a stretch of football where they didn't play well. And like you mentioned, like the difficult part is when you think about a team playing a trap game, because I was convinced this was one. The difficult part is offensively, Michigan came out and drove the ball down the field with absolute no resistance at all and scored a touchdown. So you would think that if it was a trap game, they would come out slow, but they actually came out like gangbusters, drove right down the field, scored a touchdown. And I think where it started was the second time Michigan got the ball, and it was like a third and I think it might have been a third and long, but the play call was essentially Schoonmaker on a crossing route, but he caught the ball and needed like another 7 yards after he caught the ball, and I just didn't love that play call. Like I am someone that thinks when it's pretty clear that you're the better team, like just go out and win the game. Like don't it's the same way I felt about Michigan with Iowa last week. Like you're the better team. Just go out and dominate them. I don't think they could stop you as long as you're being aggressive on offense. And I didn't feel like they were being aggressive the entire game on offense. And I thought it ended up making it a game, right? It was 10-10 at the half. I mean, it was 17-10 in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know. The offense just after, especially after that first drive, basically the first and last drive, everything in between just looked disjointed. And I've seen some people on Twitter talk about the co-offensive coordinators. And for me, I'm not gonna look at that and say that's an issue because I didn't say anything about it when the offense was playing well, like in the first couple games. So I'm
Right.
not gonna go in hindsight and say, well, this is a problem. But it just the play calling just lacked aggression for me as far as offensively.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely hit a lull at a certain point, and it's good. Blake, we all know that Blake Corum is fantastic. He's been fantastic all year. If I had my Heisman finalist top five, he'll be in there for sure. Um, and he was good again today, but for a certain point in the game, majority of his yards came off of one play. So even he wasn't able to get really going like he normally does. So the running game at times was spotty at first, and it picked up late. And JJ, even though he was efficient, um, he has to work on certain touches or certain passes he's doing as well. So um, it definitely continues to be a work in progress, both play calling and execution. But one good thing that was also good to see was losing Trent Jones earlier in the game and having his replacement come in and do a really good job is good to see as well. you always wonder about, losing a starter on your offensive line and how that's going to affect the cohesiveness and the effectiveness of your play calling. And it didn't one bit. And if anything, I thought they got even more effective.